Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are, up above the world so high.
Hour of Joy is now officially Kiwi Core, where we delve deep into the inner core of Lolcows.
Today we'll be talking about one of the most infamous lolcows on the internet, and that's Nova Online, or Gabriel Gage. I last talked about Nova over a year ago now. Nova was originally exposed for doing the worst things imaginable, and if you don't already know what Nova did, he was caught several times talking to underage girls, and he was a part of a massive scam on TikTok.
Hey all, it's Nova Kadri. I'm sorry to say, but Ohio the anime has been cancelled.
Most of the girls that Nova was caught talking to were between 14 and 16.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are.
Which wasn't good for Nova because he was 20 at the time. But 2 years later, Nova is now 22 and nothing has changed. After initially being exposed, Nova kind of left the internet for a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean it because he pretty much immediately came back. But as you would imagine, when he came back to TikTok, he didn't have any real supporters anymore. Nova tried to continue posting like this never happened, but it didn't really work for him. His views really started to plummet after people found out what he did. And since Nova was getting no views, that means no money for him. So for literal months, he would go through an experimental phase with his content, trying to find what people would engage with. Nova eventually found something that gave him a little more engagement than usual, and that was his workout videos at his local gym. As you can see, Nova has absolutely perfect form in these videos, and everyone in the comments made sure to compliment him on it. But anyways, Nova's gym content is what would pretty much keep him alive, as it was the only source of views for him at the time. And I said at the time because this arc of gym videos didn't last very long. And the reason for this is because viewers called into the gym and told them that Nova was recording. And I guess at this gym, they have a very strict rule against recording inside of it. So they ended up banning Nova from the gym entirely. So Nova's views started to plummet once again. So he went right back into his experimental phase. The videos that seemed to get more engagement this time is when Nova would record himself drinking something called a kava, which is supposed to heal his back pain, I guess. Nova would actually end up using this spike in views to his advantage. The stuff Nova would post in between his kava drinking videos is somewhat reminiscent of his old content. The first thing Nova would try and do is revive an old podcast he had called Hour of Joy.
Hey all, it's Nova Kadri. I just wanted to let you know, Hour of Joy will unfortunately be released one day early! That's right. Something is actually going to be early for once. I did not procrastinate. I got Hour of Joy done. And, yeah.
What you guys might not know is there's actually a little bit of lore behind this podcast, and it's actually one of the more recent incidents Nova got himself into. So basically, Nova had this girl that was his manager and co-host of the podcast, and it turns out that this manager was 15 years old. This is something that Nova knew the entire time, and according to the 15-year-old girl, Nova was flirting with her in DMs. But Nova being Nova, he quickly swept this under the rug and continued as normal, but it didn't look like viewers were gonna let Nova revive Hour of Joy anyway, because after posting the episode that he promised, it immediately got mass reported and taken down. But since there was such a bad name behind the podcast now, Nova decided to rename it to possibly the dumbest thing I've ever heard, which is Kiwi Core, with the name clearly being based off of Kiwi Tapes, a YouTuber that has talked about Nova several times already. And I'll just let Nova explain what he was going to use this for.
Hour of Joy is no more. Hour of Joy is now officially Kiwi Core, where we delve deep into the inner core of lolcows and see how they originally became lolcows in the first place. Anyways, look out for the first episode of Kiwi Core coming out the 14th.
After renaming his podcast, for some unimaginable reason, Nova decided to create a new Discord. This was not good at all, since the last time Nova created a Discord server, he used it to talk to minors and to publicly share his age regression kink. But this time, it looked like the people in Nova's new server were using it to do that themselves. Because if you look at this conversation between a 16-year-old and a grown man in Nova's Discord server, you can see that his responses aren't very normal. But anyways, going back to Nova's age regression, it seemed to be something that he never got away from, because there was very many recent messages and DMs from Nova where he's sending pictures of himself age regressing. And honestly, who knows how old these people were that he was sending pictures to in DMs. But also, depending on if it was a DM or not, Nova would roleplay with some people like he was a kid. Nova would also express to people how he tried to unalive himself a few times, saying stuff like, "I tried squeezing my wrist to stop my pulse," or "I tried making a noose out of paracord." And what happened to Nova after all the drama with the Discord server and his podcast, it definitely didn't help with these thoughts that he was having. Because after trying to sweep this under the rug for so long, Nova's viewers would call into his jobs and get him fired. Surprisingly, Nova held a job at Subway until these people called in, and he was eventually fired. And after being fired from his job, he would post, "I hope you trolls are fucking happy, I lost my job." If some of you guys don't know already, Nova has been through several jobs already because of the people that watch him. Like when Nova was exposed for the stuff he originally did, he had a job in a kitchen that he also got fired from. And for some reason at the time, Nova made it to the news doing that job. And what Nova said while working became a massive meme at the time, which was the only thing keeping Nova relevant at all.
Can I get a French onion soup, please?
Can I get a French onion soup, please? Can I get a French onion soup, please?
Can I get a French onion soup, please?
But even today, Nova is still out there looking for jobs. But according to this person in the comments of one of Nova's videos, his last interview went terrible. Nova, that interview was the worst fucking interview I've ever seen. Why did you spend the whole hour glued to your phone not answering questions? But anyways, on to the very last thing I'll be talking about when it comes to Nova Online, which is the state of Nova's home. I'm not sure if Nova lives alone or not. I'm pretty sure he does, and I hope he does, because I don't know a single person who would live in a home that looks like Nova's on the inside. The first glimpse of the condition of Nova's home we got was actually in a clip earlier in this video. As you can see in this picture from that clip, there's black spots all over Nova's wall and bed. And when Nova was asked about what this was, he said no comment. I feel like we can all assume that this is mold in Nova's room. Which makes sense because over time, Nova would start to give us bigger glimpses into the condition of his home. It started out with his room being in the background of most of his videos, where you can already tell Nova is some kind of hoarder.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am filming on 3 devices at the same time. If you're in the device that I am holding, then you are being recorded on my iPod. You can see it in the reflection.
This was only confirmed further when Nova set up a wider angle of his room and you could really see how bad it was. And what I've been showing you is just Nova's room. But this hoarding goes all throughout Nova's house. And we know this because Nova posted a video where he was in his kitchen. And once again, if you look in the background, you can see that stuff is just everywhere.
Nah, flavors aren't mingling, but it's not that bad.
No, maybe all that mold got to Nova's brain and that's why he's like this. At least that's what I'd like to think. Because Nova has definitely been like this from birth. But either way, Nova's home clearly isn't in a very great state. And honestly, if his house was looked at, that shit would probably be condemned. But anyways, that's pretty much all you need to know about Nova. I've been trying to be more consistent recently, and I hope you guys like that. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for watching.
We did it! Yay! Always Sema. We did it! No DJ Khaled, but we the best. Them chops howling, where you a best. If I catch you, I'm locking you down.